Hello everyone, this is Darren Kosasi from 12 Matthew, and today I would like to present to you my history video for my history assignment that was assigned to me by Mr. Ferry. Now, the purpose of this video is only for the history subject, and of course, today's topic that I would like to discuss today is about rebellions and upheavals. Now, what is a rebellion? A rebellion is a movement that involves one group and an opposing group. One group agrees with either what they have right now, while the other group opposed to what they were given and tries to change it. And sometimes rebellions would cause a disintegration of a nation. So, what is disintegration? Disintegration is always something like a society or a nation that are split into two due to the mutual disagreements. Now, we don't want that to happen, right, in our country. So, it's better to know that we have to be careful for the generations to come to be prepared. So, let's get started. Now, here I have examples of rebellions. I have the PKI rebellion or the Madiun affair, which involves an ideology. I have the Andi Aziz rebellion, which involves vested interest. And of course, we also have the PRRI or Pemersta movement, which involves the government system. Now, why are they classified as that? First of all, in the PKI rebellion or Madiun affair, the reason is because they have a certain ideology to make Indonesia as a communist country. Next, the Andi Aziz rebellion. The reason why it involves with vested interest because in the Andi Aziz rebellion, Andi Aziz wants his troop to be a part of APRIS or TNI, and that vested interest means that it only involves itself. It doesn't involve others, as it only benefits the one who does the action. And finally, the PRRI or Pemersta movement. It involves the government system because at that time, many people disagree with the government's actions as they voice their disapproval to the allocation of their funds. To support the evidence further, it's because most of the Japanese people there were felt discriminated by the government's treatment against them. Okay, let's move on. Now, the topic that I would like to discuss today even more is about the Andi Aziz rebellion. As you can see through that picture there, it's the army that was formed during the Andi Aziz rebellion. So, you want to know, right, about the Andi Aziz rebellion? So do I, because later on the following slide, it will detail all about the rebellion. And of course, I did manage to make a presentation before about the Andi Aziz rebellion last week. But enough about that. Let's get started, shall we? First of all, who is Andi Aziz? Now, as you can see through that picture, you could see that Andi Aziz could be a soldier, right? And that he was the one who led the Makassar uprising. But there are more informations about Andi Aziz. First of all, he was born in September 19, 1924, South Sulawesi, Simpang Binanga, and that he was the army captain of the Royal Dutch East Indies, the former aide of the Eastern Indonesia president, the leader of the Makassar uprising, a former KNEL member, and an instructor in a school called School Tot Opleiding for Parachusten KNEL Red Beret, and of course a soldier who fought in World War II. Okay, so you all know who Andi Aziz is, right? So let's move on to the next slide. Now, what is the KNEL? If you pay attention closely, Just now, Andi Aziz is known to be a former member of the KNEL. But what is the KNEL? The KNEL, also known as Koninklijke Netherlands Indisch Leger, was a Dutch military force that was formed and maintained by the Netherlands in the colony of the Dutch East Indies. And as you can see through the picture there, it depicts the soldiers who served the KNEL, or the ones from the Dutch. Okay, the KNEL were involved with various rebellions such as RMS, Andi Aziz, APRA, etc. Next slide. Why did Andi Aziz committed the rebellion? The Andi Aziz committed the rebellion due to his own vested interest. As we discussed on the previous slides, it's because his desire involves having his troop, the KNEL, to be able to join the APRIS or TNI. However, his demands were dismissed due to the mutual distrust between the Indonesian government and the troop. Another reason for the dismissal was because the KNEL were composed of mostly Dutch soldiers. This is actually true. When I searched about why Andi Aziz committed the rebellion, is because the KNEL faced some discrimination for being a Dutch army, and because Indonesia was recovering at that time, the fears from the government were partially justified by that man. Okay, next one. When did the rebellion occur and when did it end? First of all, the rebellion of Andi Aziz begins in the 5th of April in the year of 1950. It was during that time that the army raided the Makassar region and plans to seize the city. However, during the rebellion and also the control of the Makassar region at that time, it only needed a light resistance from the Indonesian government so that the rebellion might end. As of April 21st of 1950, the rebellion finally met its end in the hands of two colonels, Colonel Suharto and Colonel A.E. Kawilarang or Alexander Evert Kawilarang. Next, where did the rebellion take place? The rebellion is visible enough to be seen that it was taken place in Makassar. But which part of Makassar actually? It is seen here through these three maps that I have displayed here on my slide. It takes place in Ujung Pandang. Ujung Pandang is a city in Makassar, and the rebellion takes place in that particular region in Makassar. Next one. Now, how did the rebellion end? Now, the Makassar uprising ends with the president of Eastern Indonesia, Sukawati, who convinced Andi Aziz that he could come to Jakarta and negotiate with Sukarno, only to end up having him captured by Sultan Hamengkubuwono II upon arrival. As more RUSI troops led by A.E. Kawilarang arrived to end the rebellion and capture the KNEL. Now, as you can see here, first of all, the man who is wearing sunglasses is Sultan Hamengkubuwono IX, or rather Sultan Hamengkubuwono II. He was the one who captured Andi Aziz when he arrived to Jakarta. And below him is the picture of A.E. Kawilarang or Alexander Evert Kawilarang. He was the one who led the remaining troops to capture the remaining members of the KNEL and end the rebellion. And finally, the last picture, it shows of a man, which is actually the president of Eastern Indonesia, Sukawati. Did you know Sukawati was the only president of Eastern Indonesia at that time, as as shown where there are no other presidents besides him to rule at that time. Now, we have the aftermath of the rebellion. Following the arrest and imprisonment of Andi Aziz, the remaining KNEL army members were captured, as this allowed Republican factions in the East Indonesian parliament to assume a majority. In addition, Putuhena succeeded the previous Prime Minister Diapari and established an emergency government in South Sulawesi, which was controlled directly by Jakarta. And as you can see the picture over there, that's the picture of Putuhena, the succeeding Prime Minister following Diapari. Now, let us discuss the figures that were involved with the rebellion, shall we? First of all, we have Andi Aziz, the one who started the rebellion and the one who leads the KNEL and into usurping a certain city in the Makassar region, due that his vested interest wasn't met by the government. Next, we have A.E. Kawilarang, or rather Alexander Effort Kawilarang. He was an Indonesian freedom fighter. He led many troops to quash the rebellion of Andi Aziz at that time, as shown from the previous slide. Next, we have Colonel Suharto, our second president of Indonesia. Suharto, at that time, he worked together with Alexander Effort Kawilarang to put an end to the rebellion, as of course he is theorized to be captured during the Madiun affair as well. Next, we have Ahmad Yunus Mokoginta. He was an anti-communist. He hates communists. So that's why he took part of the opposition against the Andi Aziz rebellion, as he rose well for being alongside Suharto to fight during the rebellion. This was a bit hard for me to find because there are several informations that needs to be in a lot of research. Next, we have Jupwaru. Jupwaru, also known as Letkol Waru, was a commissioned officer for the Air Force, as he led the Air Force to dispatch the rebellion. This was followed by Captain of the Air Force Wiri Dinata. Just like Jupwaru, Captain Wiri Dinata works for the military, as he led the Air Force against the rebellion. Next, we have Sung Kano. He was a military character, and he was involved with the rebellion alongside Mokoginta, as I found out that the two of them dispatched 700 RUSI troops to urge the Republic to step down before dispatching or releasing 200 more troops into the rebellion. And finally, Sukawati, who was the one who managed to make an end to the rebellion. Now, Sukawati, as I stated earlier, he was the only president of Eastern Indonesia at that time, and that it was because of him, his idea to negotiate with Andi Aziz and Sukarno ends up having to end the rebellion, as Andi Aziz was later arrested by Sultan Hamengkubuwono II upon his arrival. Now, let's conclude our presentation, shall we? First of all, let's see again. Andi Aziz has many roles, such as an army captain, the former aide of the Eastern Indonesian president, the leader of the Makassar uprising, a former KNEL member, an instructor in a school called School Tot Opleiding for Parachutisten, KNEL Red Beret, and a soldier in World War II. The Makassar uprising was a skirmish between the KNEL and the RUSI government troops. The rebellion occurs due that Andi Aziz wants his troops to join the APRIS or TNI, but is refused by the government because the KNEL was a Dutch army. The rebellion only lasted for a few weeks from April 5 to the 21st of April. And then the rebellion takes place in the Makassar region of Sulawesi. The specific location is the city of Ujung Padang. Andi Aziz or Colonel A.E. Kawilarang or Alexander Everett Kawilarang, Colonel Suharto, Lieutenant Colonel Waru, Kapten Udara Wiryadinata, Kapten Bohar Ardikusuma, Letko Suprapto Sukowati were involved in the Andi Aziz rebellion, and also Sultan Hamengkubuwono Denin arrested Andi Aziz when he arrived to Jakarta to negotiate with Sukarno, as he is placed to a 14-year of imprisonment. Okay, that concludes our presentation video. I'm sorry about the conclusion summary because I have a problem with it. But at least, at the very best, I have completed my video's presentation assignment. And thank you everyone. Have a nice day. God bless you all. And thank you for joining me today. See you later.